folks. I'm going to share a small tip that probably is required for the ones who are looking to install the MySQL Community Server in their operating system. So I do have a MacBook Pro, and so I'm installing this in Mac OS, which is El Capitan. The version of it is 10.11.6. Sorry, yeah. So why I'm particularly mentioning about the version number is when you are downloading this MySQL Community Server, we need to pick up the right version. By default, when you go to the download, it will show the general availability is 8.0.12, which will work only on 10.13, which means a high Sierra or Sierra is required for the installation of this. So make sure you pay attention to the right version of it. In fact, I moved on to the earlier version, which is 5.7 instead of 8.0. Even then, it points to 10.13. So this is the first time I failed when I downloaded this and installed it. It didn't work. Then I moved on to the archived versions of that community server, and it has again the long list of whatever MySQL suite of products. But you make sure pick up the right version from the community server link. Uh, how to pick up the right version is now the product version of this MySQL is tightly now associated with the corresponding Mac OS as well. So here when you pick the right product version, let's say 5.1 7.10, and then it populates the list, thereby it shows 10.10, which is good at least. But we pick up something 5. Let's say 5.7.15. That's good. So that comes as 10.11, which is El Capitan. So basically we need to download this version of it, and I'm sure I just did that some time ago. Which is 10.11.x. So all I need to do is click on that particular version, which is corresponding to my El Capitan. Here you go. It's using a standard installer package from Mac OS. So double click on that. And that shows up a small pop-up dialog where it shows the sequence of steps. Just keep continuing with that. Standard terms and conditions. Agree to this. Make sure your installation is, so it's being installed. By default, it is selected as install for all users of the computer, which is good. So I'm just leaving it as it is. And then make sure you click on the customize to check what are the options selected already. By default, it should have selected MySQL Server preference pane. This preference pane will come up in the system preferences. Once you go there, I'll show you in a moment, and then launch the support. And I click on install. It will ask you the standard administrator password on which you logged in already. Make sure this is a clean installation, meaning no deletion of any folders or any files inside this Mac OS. If that needs to be done, make sure you log in as a root and then clean up properly if something goes wrong, and then do the same installation through the installer package once again. It may take maybe a couple of minutes. The last packaging scripts takes a while, but then usually it don't take more than a minute or two. After that is done, we need to make sure this community server, see, it opens and shows a message, a temporary password has been created for this. If you notice this El Capitan versions of this MySQL Community Server, it doesn't show one of the option for the configurations as an 8.0 or something. That is a drawback with this, because it generates a default password and not letting you to change the password in this dialog itself. Instead, we need to go as a workaround. Fortunately, I have explored this internet and found one of the developer has shared his tips, and that's what I'm going to share today as well through this video. How to change the password, default password of the root, to make sure you are able to successfully log into these MySQL server. I will make a copy of that in the simple notes. This is the temporary password which we need. Let's go back to this. Let's open up a shell terminal. And the present working directory is this. So by default, all these MySQL get installed into the user local directory, usr local. And let's say what is there right now. There you go. So it has created two directories, MySQL, and that is pointed to this another directory which contains all the information. So let's now start this using the root. There is a command to do that, which is, first let's go to this MySQL. Right? And then MySQL -u is meant for the user, right? And then the user is the root user. -p is the password where I'm going to change the password, the default password. Unless you change the default password, you will not be able to successfully run that. Before doing it, let's go to make sure the installation is fine through the system preferences. There is a preference pane. In the system preferences, you see MySQL here, and right now it is stopped. You can optionally enable or disable this automatically startup. I chose to not to do it. Rather, no, I can do it whenever I require. Let's do that. Okay, and start MySQL server right now. And I have optionally, we can have this workbench, MySQL workbench. I have installed earlier on the same login. So if you move on to that and try to connect it right now, here you go. Let's create a new MySQL connection to this new installation. It's a local host root. When I try to test the connection, it just asks the password, right? Let's pick up this password and make sure whether it is logging in first with the default password. See, the first connection itself fails because the default password has to be reset using this alter user command. And that's what we are trying to do here through the command line terminal. Okay, when I click on this, it will ask the password. And now I'm going to paste the default password. And then click on enter. So it logged in, but it will not, through this command line, it will at least log in, but it will not connect it to the database server. It just connected to the CLI of the MySQL. But in order to make the connection successful, you still need to do the same alter command. Let's see what is the alter command here. So the alter command is something like this, right? Alter user root at localhost identified by root. Sorry, this is wrong. It has to be alter user. Between this single quote, you have to have the username and at, and then the host name, and then identified by what is the password. Accordingly, you can give that. So let's say alter user root at localhost, right? Sorry, this localhost also should go into the single quotes. Localhost identified by, and then the new password, which is also root. In our case, root 123. Let's say root 123, right? And it expects a semicolon as well at the end. So it says 0 rows affected, but in fact it is updated that as it is related to the schema of the database. Now let's give it a try once again. Create a new connection, leave it the default localhost, default port, and then the root. Now let's connect. The password it is asking. We cannot copy this old password which is already expired by, so we need to key in the root 123. And it says now a successful MySQL connections was made. And that's all, folks. I think this will help, hope you to get through the issues that you face during installation of MySQL Community Server Edition. Share your comments if you have any questions or something. I'll be more happy to help you. Thank you. Thanks folks for watching this video. Hope to share many more in the future. Please hit like for this video and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.